Alexander Blackburn and Aday Shoffola, thank you both for joining me tonight. Aday, let's start with you. I know this is something that you've been campaigning for some time, so no doubt you're pleased. How do you think it'll make a difference?
It'll make an amazing difference to those children. I think quite often we talk about children who are presenting in schools hungry. Teachers are telling us all the time that they're seeing children who aren't able to concentrate, children who are sharing sandwiches between siblings. And we know that sometimes parents are sending children to school with packed lunches that really aren't nutritionally strong enough for those children. So sort of stepping in with those 5 to 7 year olds is a great start to kind of having an intervention at the earliest years for those children.
Sounds very encouraging, doesn't it, Alexander? Why would you want to step in the way of all children at that age getting a nice, hot, free, nutritious school meal?
Well, I don't think anyone here would disagree that free school meals are an invaluable tool.
Well, you're disagreeing, aren't you?
I'm not disagreeing with free school meals in principle. They are an invaluable tool to eradicating a lot of educational disadvantage. And even more so, they're a great a barometer, a dipstick, as it were, to assessing where...
So what's your problem with them?
My problem is not with free school meals. My problem is with spending £600 million a year on free school meals for people who, largely, on the whole, may be able to afford them. And if I could just put this in context, we are facing one of the biggest educational crises in the country's history. We have an impending primary pupil place crisis. Just in 2 years' time, in 2015, over half of school districts in England will have more pupils than places. And so I think most parents would agree they would rather have taxpayers' money spent on school places rather than school lunches.
I mean, it's a good point, isn't it? For people who can afford to pay for their child's lunch, why should they be subsidised? It's a waste of money for them, isn't it?
I think all the research shows, actually, when it works really well is when you have a universal offer. So the research that the last government did about
Why does it work better?
It changes the school culture. And so it means for children, actually, they sit down together and they have meals together. That's exactly what we see in more affluent kind of private schools. And it's great for children in state schools to have that opportunity to eat together with their peers, to eat together with their teachers.
So a millionaire who sends their kids to a primary school, a state-funded school, is it right that they get free school meals? Are you happy with that?
I am happy with that, because I think what you'll find from that millionaire is that he will think that he's getting a lot for his money and he's more invested in the school. And what you will yield back from that one parent actually is a huge amount of return for the school. Whether that millionaire decides to then work harder to get the school more resources, whether that millionaire decides to work with other parents to help them as well.
Makes sense, doesn't it, Alexander?
Well, I would argue it doesn't cost £600 million to let packed lunch students eat at the same table with people who have hot school dinners. When I was at school not so long ago, I had a packed lunch. I sat with all my friends having hot school dinners, and that did not cost £600 million a year.
So what would you rather that money go on? It is a lot of money. What would you rather it go on?
Well, it's very interesting to hear from head teachers and local councils who really see firsthand the looming crisis we have in primary school places. You have to look over to Barking and Dagenham Council.
I'll tell you what, I'm just going to interrupt you and let's have a look at some of our tweets from our viewers. This is from Kamika Small, who says, I really need them to allow my 2 girls free school meals because I'm struggling to provide them with a packed lunch every day. It's hard times. And we're not just talking about families who are on the poverty line, we're talking about hard-pressed families. Are you really going to deny them this? This lady wants this free meal.
What I would say to that lady, I would say, would you rather your child has a secure future with a place in school, or would you rather them have a hot dinner at lunchtime?
So you would rather them go hungry, would you?
I'd rather £600 million be spent on schooling, on teachers, on resources, rather than hot school dinners.
Can I just jump in there, Alex? I think what is really interesting from the work that we've done with teachers is actually what they're saying is that it's great to have all this money on resources and getting new IT and doing great things in the school. But when the child is turning up and isn't able to learn, all you're doing is putting money at the wrong end of the system. We need to make sure that children are able to learn, and that requires them to eat properly so that they are ready to learn.
Too much nanny state, perhaps? Some parents probably don't want their children to have a free school
I think
meal.
you would struggle to find a parent who will say, I don't want my child to have a healthy, nutritious meal. In the boroughs where they have piloted this, the take-up has been excellent. It's been around 85 to 90%, which is almost universal.
And Alexander, just briefly for you to finish, if you had children and you may do in the future, do you think you'll change your mind?
I don't think I would, no. I mean,
just briefly.
What you said, based on Southwark Council tried this out. They spent £8 million over 3 years on this. And a councillor on Southwark Council said it was a great idea because many parents could then afford to go and buy dance lessons for their children.
Okay.
And call me old-fashioned, but I think free school meals funding should go to buying meals and not teaching kids how to do the tango.
Thank you very much for joining me tonight.